All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Behind the Form. My name is Annie Benavides, and I'm the Director of Business Development and Partnerships here at GoFormz. Today, I'm joined by Seth Bass, the Director of IT at Cole Industrial, a great customer of ours. And we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in regards to his organization, his role, and how GoFormz has been impactful to his business. So without further ado, Seth, go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Annie. It's nice to be on here with you and have this quick talk here. I'm Seth Bass, like she introduced me, a Director of IT Operations at Cole Industrial. It's a boiler company out of the Pacific Northwest. We specialize in new, used equipment, sales, service, and rental boilers. We're a small company of about 85 employees. Our service ranges from Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And we help companies increase boiler room efficiency, saving energy, reducing downtime, meeting emissions and safety standards, all the way from installing a boiler to maintenance and repairs to testing and compliance. We're dedicated to providing one-stop integrated boiler room solutions for our customers.
That's amazing. Thank you for that overview. Totally appreciate it. I'm sure you guys get a lot of calls every day from issues that your customers are facing. Can you kind of walk us through what your field service organization looks like and the problems that they're looking to solve?
Sure. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of pre-scheduled work, but we also have a 24/7 emergency service department. And it can be anything from a quick 1 hour fix to a complete multi-day task, depending on what the issue is. We have regional service techs that are on call for each of the major service locations. So one in Alaska, 3 in Washington, and 1 in Idaho, and then 2 in Oregon.
Nice.
We're very customer service focused. We've been around since 1964, so we've got a few years under our belt. We are the principal supplier for the nation's largest boiler manufacturer, which is Cleaver-Brooks, and we're an exclusive representative for them in our region.
That's amazing.
So
you guys have been around since the 60s, right? So I'm sure you've seen it all, especially given your role in IT.
Yeah.
Before we step into the technology path, give us an idea for what life was like back in the day, or maybe before you came on board or when you stepped on board. Like, what was Seth?
Yeah. So I'm a little unique when it comes to the boiler industry. Is kind of a close-knit organization, and it's very niche in general. But so I came on Cole almost 90 years ago, exactly March 1st, 2017.
Oh, nice.
And I actually came in from the service. I was a service manager. I wasn't in IT.
Oh, wow.
I came from the field, and I was the one, and before that, and I took a role. I was a foreman, and so I was actually working in the field in Los Angeles out of the, I won't say sister company, but our representative to the south that represents California. And so, I was a field service guy, so I knew all the hiccups and stuff, and they had an automated field service solution that I came from. So when we came to Cole, I was kind of taken aback when I was still doing Word document service reports, Microsoft Word, and sometimes even hand printed, forms, depending on the situation. So I immediately brought it up to the executive team. Hey, we need to get up to speed here. We need to collect this information digitally. Everybody has a laptop. Everybody has a cell phone. Hey, we need, we can't stop. We got to keep pushing forward. We're going to get left behind.
Right.
And that's kind of where it started with in the field. And then some things happened, and they realized, well, my background is I have a computer science degree, and I wanted to go into IT, and they let me change positions. And COVID and all that kind of needed an IT person with what happened with COVID and all the remote work and management needed. And so that's how I started. That's how the journey started with Cole Industrial, at least. So.
Yeah, I had no idea that you actually had experience before being in IT in service. So you actually came to the table knowing what your service organization was experiencing, whether that's, paper volume coming in, lack of standardization in the field. I'm sure you saw it firsthand, and then you were given the task of trying to figure out how I can improve this overall for the business. So that's great. Look at that fun fact that I'm finding out about you today, actually, as well. You came to the table, like I said, with that field service lens, but now, as you stepped into the role in IT, I'm sure you were looking at a plethora of different sort of solutions. Not only that, you were looking at, doing an ERP change as well. I want to better understand that. So walk me through sort of what that looked like for you.
Yeah. So, oh man, I guess almost 3 years ago, this February exactly, uh, we we realized that, hey, our current existing ERP, HR system, and well, lack thereof, field service system solution, we had to change, and got executive team buy-in. We formed, the committees, but I kind of took lead points since I kind of did have that unique aspect of I came from the field, I came from operations.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot of our business processes and stuff like that. So I could immediately qualify certain products or disqualify certain products right out the gate. So it ended up that we went through a long selection process. We selected Acumatica as our ERP base, and we selected UKG as our HR platform and time card and payroll. But the one thing we knew going into it, Acumatica, is that they didn't have an offline data entry capability through their native mobile app.
Right.
And for my organization in the boiler industry, boilers are typically in the basement of buildings. So we need to be able to collect stuff offline. We need to have zero connectivity to the internet to be able to capture data, capture pictures, package it together, and then when we get back to a place where we do, upload it. So, just through the amazing partnership and network of Acumatica's, VARs, and all that kind of stuff, GoFormz was suggested, and we went through the qualification process, and I saw the value in it, and we selected GoFormz as our field service, offline field service solution.
Yeah, that's great. So the offline functionality was huge. Is there anything else in your perspective or your leadership team perspective that you knew was a non-negotiable? Or was that pretty much it? Like the blaring red flag of this has to be addressed for my organization, and there you went with it?
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was looking for. Solution was off. I mean, that was their big goal. Now I was looking for other things. I was looking for direct integration. I was looking for ease of use. I was looking at multiple things when I selected one, because there was other opportunities, but it would have required some of our field users to relearn new processes. And technicians are awesome, but you don't want to necessarily change too much on them as far as processes of data entry goes. It can go south quick. So
you bring up the word change, which is a hot topic, I feel, in any industry that GoFormz serves. But that change management component is so incredibly unique, because for those of you watching for the first time today with GoFormz, you don't have to necessarily change the way that you do business. That paper documentation, what you're seeing in an Excel spreadsheet, that stagnant data is still going to be there, but instead of on a paper mobile form, it's going to be on a digital format. So if you ever got a team still holding their mobile device in their pocket, why not slap an app on there and get it to go live with what they need to do to execute work orders, as a prime example. So with that being said, Seth, I think this is a really great transitional moment in our conversation to kind of talk about, how that's really impacted your business, right? What the technician was doing before they had GoFormz at their fingertips, powered with Acumatica as well. Can you walk us through kind of a day in the life of what that looked like for a service engineer?
Sure. Yeah. So prior to our solution, well, when I first started, it was Word document. You had a Word document template that they all had on their laptops. They would fill it out, and then they would print it out, and then they would put it in a basket on a service coordinator's desk.
Oh,
Then the coordinator would review it, make sure that there was no action items, and then they would pass it on to me if there was action items for the service manager, or a request for a quote, some follow up. Um, and like I said, when I first started, I was like, hey, we got to become more technology, use more technology in our system. We were transitioned already to Microsoft 365, so we had some tools like Teams,
okay.
SharePoint, OneDrive, some stuff that we might not have had a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
prior to 2017. And then we tried going to digital. Hey, don't print it out anymore. Just submit it through Teams. Upload it to Teams. Fill it on your computer. Upload it to Teams. We'll review them, move them, folders. So basically, like a paper process, but
Mhm.
instead of turning it into a basket, we just turn it into a folder, and then
Right.
the coordinator moves it from one folder to my folder, and then I monitor that folder and go there. Um, so that was the process before we decided to update our ERP and look for a solution that directly integrated with ERP that led us to GoFormz.
Yep.
But I do want to caveat and go back a little bit. Sorry,
No.
the change, right? And everybody fears change.
Yes.
The strong point of GoFormz, I thought, and I've utilized it to champion change, because I started with a form that they knew and used and they understood it.
Mhm.
From that form, I showed them possibilities. I was like, hey, look, we can add a field here. We can add a box here. We can control a workflow from that form to do automatically upload it, email it. And now now they're hungry for change.
Ooh,
So
I like
uh, you take what you keep them comfortable at the beginning and do a small change, and it's just the digital. It looks exactly like your form.
it. Mhm.
Now they're like, hey, we need to. This is awesome. Let's go forward.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's that notion of the crawl, walk, run
yeah,
mentality, right? Like,
exactly. Mhm.
bite off what you can do first, and then from there,
Yeah.
start adding more and more. So I love that piece. Um, yeah, I can't imagine going from that paper-based process to literally a basket and then watching that slow roll with GoForms. So I'm sure there was a time entry gain there, like an administrative burden that was lifted, whether
Oh,
it's from an office admin or from you going back in to fix any sort of issues that might have been on that form. Not only that, but even for your service leadership as well. So,
mhm.
wow, that's wild. The back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a quote, like a low hanging fruit. Everybody uses that term. A quote
Yes.
from our. So one of our techs go out there and they get a request for a quote. In the old process, even when the most up to date using Teams as an electronic submission, we were looking at a 36 to plus hour turnaround.
Mhm.
We're getting quotes out same day now.
Mhm.
So
That's
it's
amazing.
it's a pretty big improvement.
That's amazing. Wow. It sounds like there was a few impactful sort of breaking moments within the business since you've been on board that your team really had said, this has to stop, this has to change. We've hit on a few. Is there anything else that you want to recap or any other stories that you want to share regarding that?
I don't know. One thing is once you introduce it for one department,
Mhm.
it starts to propagate into all the other departments, and you know, we decided to implement an ERP and payroll system and a field service solution, all three at the same time. And I can tell you that don't do that. You know,
Yeah.
don't my to all my IT, don't do that. It's
Mhm.
just
We
not
say
enough.
follow the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, as you base your priorities and when you're doing these implementations, sometimes it's easiest to find the smallest and easiest solution, implement that first, get people comfortable with the solution. And I did that with our job hazard form. Safety is really big in the service industry, construction industry,
Oh, for sure.
all industries really. But we have a lot of documentation associated around with safety.
Mhm.
And so I took a very simple, form that they fill out in seconds, and that was what I distributed first to
Mhm.
allow them to see how fast they could fill that out and how they could get that back. And that's kind of what I did with that. So.
Nice. In one of our previous conversations, you had mentioned how you deem GoForms, right? And you said something along the lines of it's a business process solution. I want to hone in on that for our audience today. I want to hear the Seth version of what that means, because I really liked it. So I think it'll be impactful.
Sure. Yeah. When I say business process solution, it really lets you see who's touching what form and how it gets propagated through the organization and or outside the organization with the public form feature. And so it really let us cut down on some areas that we didn't need the process was broken in that area, or it didn't need to work. So, in the process of us bringing under the form into GoFormz and me learning how to create the digital form per se, and then taking it to the next step of creating the workflows for the form and then do the integration with Acumatica, it really gave us a good insight in how, okay, well, we can solve a lot of problems with this solution outside of what we initially intended it for.
Yep. So love that, by the way. What I've noticed, given my role within this organization, is whether it's a field service use case, whether it's construction, safety is massively important no matter what industry vertical we're supporting. So I want to go back and talk a little bit about how you sort of leaned into the safety concept first for coal. There's a lot of other areas that we can obviously assist in any sort of paper-based form, a near miss report, a JHA. Bring some of those paper documents to life for us so we can get a better understanding of how your process works.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned earlier, that we try to implement 3 systems at once. So as it works, your workload, you have to pick and prioritize. And obviously the ERP is the core center of the thing. So that took a lot of my time. And then the payroll side was our controller, and he's our HR too. So that took his time. So unfortunately, we underutilized GoFormz for the first 18 months of our contract, only because, well, it was our fault. We tried to implement too much at once. So then after I got the ERP, we got the ERP up and running smoothly and communicating and doing what it needed to do. And then the other payroll system we got up and running. You got to re-engage your teams, and I found that everybody was still kind of overwhelmed with learning a new ERP system.
Right.
But you got to find that catalyst, and safety is a catalyst where we have to get these documentation done. This is something that has to get done. And so my safety director came to me and says, hey, I need to figure out a way to how to get the guys to do job hazard analysis before every and we need to get it in not real time, but we need to get it back sooner than we're getting them back.
Right.
And I was like, well, you know what? I already have a solution for that. And so he gave me the form, and I got it uploaded, and I worked with members of your team to get the integration ironed out with Acumatica. And I would say within probably 8 working hours from the time that I had the idea to the time that it was being completed, it was up and running. So
that's fabulous. I love to hear about these fast or ROI, use cases that we can help a business solve for. So thank you for sharing that. Outside of the safety component, are there any other areas of the business that you're seeing sort of interested in GoFormz? Are you assisting with any of these use cases or anything that you can share there?
Yeah, I think every department could benefit from something. Every department has a form of some sort. Our accounting department, I recently have been working with when we have new vendors set up and stuff like that. Sometimes there's extra additional questions that we want from the customer, and I said, well, you know what? Let's utilize the public form aspect of GoFormz, and we'll create the form that we want, and we'll use the internal process and send it to whoever internally, and then using the workflow process, send it out to customers and have the customers directly update stuff like names and addresses and stuff like that automatically updates our ERP.
Love that.
So, the customer's updating the customer information, and, we're just kind of facilitating that update. So
I love that. Getting back customer information or even evaluations on a service, call is
Yeah.
often very critical for any sort of business. So I'm glad that you're leveraging our public forms functionality there too. Let's see. I feel like we're touching a lot of areas of the business. We've got field service that's been positively impacted amongst your accounting team and your safety organization as well. I mean, even I'm sure, Seth, it's safe to say that we've maybe even helped your area of the business and IT a little bit better too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, data quality, data integrity. I'm sure those are big words that are used in your world all the time. Walk us through, some sort of some sort of positive impact that you've seen within the last 2 years that you've been a customer of ours, maybe in your world or just overall.
Yeah, no. Well, you nailed it. Data, let's see, integrity, quality, I would even say speed, has improved drastically with the use of GoFormz. Service reports oftentimes would take in excess of a week to get submitted back to the office and stuff like that. And then, timelateness of that. And then what would happen is guys weren't even doing the service report on the site. So what happened is they would work all day and they're tired, right? And they'd leave. And then 2 days later, they might go back and try to work on that service report. Well, we're all human. And I mean, some of us have better memories than others, but if you're not taking that documentation near as when you're doing the service or immediately after doing the service, there could be little things and major things that you forget. And so if you forget those items that were getting forgotten directly in our industry could equate to sales, and sales equates to growth, and growth equates, or better customer service, right? It doesn't necessarily just have to be a dollar associated with it. It just us getting an answer back to an end user or a customer faster. But being that now we don't have to take even a digital form like a Word document and copy and paste it into our ERP, the direct integration means that it goes from the field service guy directly into our system, means that, the life cycle of a service job from dispatch to billing is definitely shorter. Not the best at keeping those numbers for metrics, but it's definitely improved drastically for us. We see it and stuff like that. So,
I'm hearing of these little value adds that we've helped make a positive impact on the business. I love that. I hope we can do more of that for sure. I have to say that throughout this conversation, I'm learning more and more about you as, a business colleague of mine, but just your past from the service sector and into IT. When we look forward into the future, if there's an IT person that's sitting out there thinking about going digital or maybe moving to Acumatica or maybe, GoFormz, what's sort of some advice that you'd provide that individual?
Sure. Yeah. No. It's here's another little. We went down an ERP upgrade. We went down a whole solution package prior to choosing Acumatica. We had a field service and ERP solution, and we were about 20% implementation, and we realized they couldn't do what they sold us on. So getting your requirements down from your end users and truly understanding what those requirements are is very important. And like for me, it's a unique situation where I came from the field, so I could help write some of those requirements. So when I'm out looking for stuff or evaluating stuff from a technical IT aspect, I knew what the requirements were and I lived the requirements. So, I might have, I could answer those things. But basically, make sure you understand the core problem. Softwares have a lot of additional stuff and bells and whistles that you might not necessarily need. And I will say that us in IT, and I guess I shouldn't speak for, we tend to like a lot of additional robustity. I don't know, I'm sure that's a word, robustness. And those extra bells and whistles because we're like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. Right. But you got to put your mind into who's going to be using the software.
Right.
And if you know your user is not going to ever find value in those additional bells and whistles.
Mhm.
Don't bother yourself with trying to implement those or trying to train them on those things.
Right.
It's tough because a lot of times us as IT is also, we roll out new software packages on the request of an executive management team or something like that. So if you don't have their buy-in, or you don't have them as your advocate to make sure that it's getting implemented, sometimes, a lot of times, software rollouts can fail, and it looks like it's your failure because
Mhm.
you're like, well, I'm just the IT. You guys wanted it, I gave it to you.
Right.
But but if you have it the top cover push down approach, I find that they go a lot better. And just stay persistent. Sometimes you just have to send out and keep on top people and just keep pushing and keep pushing
Yeah.
until you crack the rock, right? That slow drip will crack the rock.
I love that. I love that.
So
You've said many stories today. I've learned, actually, like I said, some tidbits about you that I never knew before. So thank you for that. If folks want to maybe pick your brain a little bit, are you okay with them reaching out to you on LinkedIn, Seth, just to maybe have a little Q&A session, or are you open to that? Okay.
Yeah, they can reach out to me via LinkedIn. I will also be at Acumatica Summit here coming up in a couple weeks.
Amazing.
And if they see me around and want to talk about it, I'm more than happy.
Awesome. Well, I personally have enjoyed speaking with you this afternoon, learning a little bit more about, how we've been impactful to your business, learning more about you as, someone who's been in the field service and IT space. Just hearing about your digital transformation journey with us has been super wonderful. I want to appreciate all who are listening in or who will eventually listen into this. And until next time, this is Annie Benavides with GoFormz, and we look forward to having you on our next Behind the Form. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.